everybody, Keren here from TuppenceColoured.co.uk. Thank you very much for joining me today. This is the card that I've been making today. It's an action card. When I pull on this tab here, Santa rides his scooter across the front, and then when you push it back in, he reverses, and I have to tell you, he's much better at reversing his vehicle than I am, because I really never have got the hang of going backwards. But that is beside the point. This is what I'm making. Stay with me, I will show you how. Here's what I'm using to make my card today. Card base is a piece of mint macaron, which is 8 inches by 5 3/4, scored and folded at 4 inches to make a landscape tent fold card. For the front, I've got another piece of mint macaron, which is 5.5 by 3 3/4, and I've got some whisper white, which is 5.5 by 3 3/4, and I've got another bit for stamping on. I have some of the Tranquil Textures DSP, that's the other side of it, and I'm going to trim this down so that it is the same size as my my mat on the front of my card, because that is going to cover it entirely. I'm using So Santa and Memento Tuxedo Black, and I'm also going to be using my stamping blends. I just haven't got them out yet. For the background of the card, I've got some Balmy Blue, Blueberry Bushel and Coastal Cabana. I've got Frost White, Shimmer Ink. I've also got one of these, or most of one of these, which is just a clear plastic wallet, the kind you get for storing papers in. And as you can see, this one has been well loved. It's not new at all. And I've got a strip, and that's about 1 centimetre wide, so maybe, you know, half an inch, of clear plastic packing material. And you could use window sheet, acetate, whatever you've got handy, but this was free. It's my favourite price. And I'm going to be using this die from the In the Woods framelets. I have mounted up my sentiment, which is just scooting by with a Christmas high onto the plate of my Stamparatus. I've got my my stamp case underneath supporting the Stamparatus. I've lined my paper up where I want it to be, and I'm just stamping the message with my Memento. And I'm just checking that that's come out the way I want it. Just going to give it another. That's better. And of course that's a great thing about Stamparatus, because of course if it doesn't come out just the way you want it the first time, you can go back and do it again. I've mounted the snowflakes from the Spirited Snowman onto a clear block, and I've just mixed up my Frost White shimmer paint. I just want a tiny little spot of it on my plate here, and I have a sponge. Now this isn't any kind of special sponge, this is just a bit of kitchen sponge, you know, the kind you get a pack of 6 for £1 from the pound shop, and I'm just going to ink up my stamp with the Frost White paint, and I'm going to stamp that onto my card carefully. Okay, and I'm going to do it again. it, so I'm just going to just rub that away. And tiny bit more. And one more time. And again, I'm twisting the block. I'm turning my stamp round between. I'm just trying to see where I've put that. I'm turning my stamp around between stampings so that it's going in a different direction. And yes, you can see that. That's left me lovely shimmery stamps. Now I've got a paper towel that I've soaked with water here in this plate, and I'm going to clean off the paint off my stamp using that. I don't want it to dry on the stamp because it'll be very, very difficult to get off, so I want to make sure that it doesn't dry at all. So while this is drying, I'm going to go. I have my Santa mounted up onto the plate of my Stamparatus, and I'm inking him up with my Memento Tuxedo Black. This is thick Whisper White, and I'm just going to press down. And there you go. There is my scootering Santa, and he's all ready to be coloured in. I mounted the card backer onto a piece of card. This happens to be mint macaron, but it doesn't matter because it isn't going to be seen. And I'm going to measure up from the base of the card. What should we have? Let's have about ½ an inch. Okay. And I've already measured in 3/4 of an inch from either edge. So I'm going to draw a line that's 3/4 of an inch. And the same thing from this side. Make a mark that's 3/4 of an inch. And just to tidy things up, I'm going to draw another line across the top. So now with my craft knife, I'm going to cut a slit from there to there and there to there. So first of all, I'm going to start by just cutting along that line that I drew. And I'm going to go through a couple of times because I'm going through a couple of layers of card here. And then I'm going to go just to the inside of it. So about 1/16 of an inch. And I'm going to cut another slit. And I'm going to join those two together and pop them out. So that what I get is that. Okay, it's just a little bit wider than just making a cut in the card. So I'm going to do the same at this end. I'm going to turn that round so I can get at it and see what I'm doing easily. And same thing again. Just cut another little line that's parallel to the first one. And pop it out. And that is going to be the band where my band runs along. This is a strip of plastic cut from that document wallet. It's about 5/8 of an inch, half an inch, something like that wide. It doesn't have to be exact. It just has to be narrow enough to go through the slots that you've cut on your card. And I'm just feeding the plastic through those slots carefully. There we go. So that they come out on the rear side. Now it doesn't have to be the rear because it's all going to be covered up, but it does make it a little bit easier for you to see. So I've got way more plastic than I need here, so I'm going to cut some of that away and hope. There we go. Still got plenty, which is fine. And I'm going to take a glue dot and pop a couple at the end. Now I was watching Jennifer Maguire do this the other day, and she used staples. I've never tried using staples on this kind of mechanism. Okay, so stick that down, and for security I'm going to add another glue dot just here. Okay, so now, and I want to make sure that that's not too tight, because if it's too tight it won't run. I think that's okay. Oh, and I added a few more snowflakes to the top of the card because I realised that once I put the front piece on, these snowflakes here were going to be hidden. So right, so we're ready for the next step. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 5.5 by 3 3/4 piece of Whisper White card, and I'm going to take it over to my Big Shot, and I'm going to chop it in half with this die. So I will be right back when I've done that. I'm back from the Big Shot, and as you can see, the die isn't quite long enough to cut the card into 2 pieces. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take my snips and I'm going to line up so that I'm following that curve, and I'm going to do the same on this side, just lining up the tips with that curve. And now I have these 2 pieces, and I'm going to decide which way round I want to place them. And I think that one is just about exactly how I want it, so I'm going to keep that one. So from the piece that I'm not going to be using, I'm going to cut a strip that's about 1 centimetre. I'm just using scissors for this because I just want a little bit of space between this and the back of the card, and I could use my foam tape, but that would be almost overkill. I don't really want it to be that much different. And then I'm going to put my piece of Whisper White on top of that. Just like that. And I obviously didn't measure up very well because I've got some bits left over, but that doesn't matter because I can take my big scissors and I can trim those away. Well, I just got completely carried away and made life difficult for myself by sticking this piece onto the spacer piece before I needed to. So what I should have done is let my spacer piece in place and then put this on one side for a few minutes until I was ready for it, but I didn't. But we can work around it. So I will, you know, every day's a school day. Okay, so on the reverse, I've made sure that the bit where the tape is, where the glue dots are, is all the way over to the right hand side. And I'm going to put a glue dot onto the end of my piece of clear plastic. I'm just going to peel this back gently and stick this to my endless belt. Okay, and I'm just going to check by pulling on the other side that that will move. Okay. And it does. Right, so let's push this all the way over to where we want it. And now here's my Santa. So I'm going to put a glue dot onto the back of his head, like that. And now I'm going to trim away the plastic that I don't need, being very careful not to chop Santa's head off. So there he is on his little scooter. And now cut a strip of Whisper White, 1.5 inches wide by 4.5 inches long. I've scored it at 3/8 of an inch from either side, and I have gone ahead and stamped my sentiment there, just because we need to save a little bit of time, because this is getting to be quite a long tutorial. So I'm just going to sharpen up my edges, and I'm going a bit of tear and tape along that side there, and along this side here. Take off the back. I just want to take the back off, not the tape. Come on, play nice. Doesn't want to play nice today. There we go. Now let me bring back my card front, and again, something which I forgot to do, but I'm going to do now, I hope, is to punch out a little helper. I mean, move Santa out of the way so that he doesn't get a bit, you know, a chunk cut out of his bottom. So between those two guidelines, I am going to punch that out. And I did have to be quite firm with it, but it did actually work for me. Okay, right, so now I'm going to attach this piece to the belt, to the mechanism here, and I'm going to pop a couple of glue dots at the end, and I'm going to make sure that that is going to be the right way up, and just line those up. Okay, so that when I pull, Santa moves along. Now there's a lot of room for this piece to go up and down, which I don't want, so I've got some 1mm foam tape here, and I'm just going to put it, just going to run it just outside the channel where the belt is, and then again just around the top. Okay, and as I've started doing that, then I'm going to put some more tape along the back. Now you could use dimensionals for this, or you could use layers of cards. So you'd cut card strips like I did for the front, but you'd maybe make them 2 deep, 2 layers deep, I mean, not too deep, and that, once that's stuck down, that will stop that from moving around too much. All right. Okay, so we're nearly done. And they would be in my bag, wouldn't they? Here's my journaling pen, and I'm just going to draw a little arrow there so that when the person I'm going to give this to gets it, they know that there's something that they have to do with it. Okay, now where's the front of my card gone? One of these days, you're gonna miss me, honey. Before I stick this onto the front of my card, I am going to line it up, and with my pencil I'm going to mark where that's going to come. Okay, and again with my 3/4 of an inch punch, I'm just going to cut that bit out, because that means that now whoever gets this card has got something to grip onto at the back. Yes, so time to remove the backing from the tape. And I don't know whether I mentioned, but this is 1mm foam tape, so it's not going to add a great deal of depth to the card, but it is going to enable me to pull that runner easily. Alright, so I put a little bit of liquid adhesive on top of the foam tape, just so that I give myself just a little bit of wiggle time, and I'm happy with that. And here is my Scooting Santa. And there it is, that is my finished card. And I just pull the tab and he rides across and push it back in and he goes back home again. I did find that when I was testing out this mechanism, that when I was bringing the tab back to the start position, the die cut was kind of riding up a little bit and over the curve of the snowbank, which looked pretty cute, but it wasn't what I wanted. So to stop that, I don't know whether you can see, just about, I just put a dimensional under his rear wheel there, left the backing on so that it doesn't stick down to the card, and now he just glides along. There he goes. So I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and if so, then please do click that like button. It really does help me, and come back again and see me sometime. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for joining me, and I hope I'll see you again sometime soon. Bye bye.